Palantir CEO Alex Karp was active in the media this week, right after its big earnings call last week. A lot of the attention is also because Karp has a new book coming out on February 18th, and this is part of the promotion for it. Karp did a live stream with retail investors on February 12th to answer questions, and the Wall Street Journal just published a deep dive article on Karp on February 13th. In this video, I'll break down 6 key themes of what Karp said, what it means for Palantir's future, and how it translates to whether this stock is still worth buying at $120. In a live Ask Me Anything session, Karp answered individual investors' questions as a way to acknowledge that individual investors have played a big role in the company's success. Summarizing this session boils down to 4 key themes. First, Karp only hires top talent. He personally hired the first 450 employees. The company looks for people who are not just smart, but also great at solving problems in creative ways. Karp believes the culture at Palantir has maintained the same values from the beginning, which is about fairness and meritocracy. Employees have to explain their work and why it matters, no matter what level they're in. This focus on high-quality people helps Palantir stay ahead of its competitors. Unlike other companies, Palantir doesn't just build what customers ask for. Instead, Karp says the company creates what the world should be using. This relates to his background of PhD in philosophy, where outlook isn't about what you see in front of you, but thinking layers deeper about the reverberating effects of one decision that will affect other consequences, thus creating products with a wider aperture that addresses those scenarios. He believes that looking beyond short-term profits and creating solutions for long-term, forward-looking, world-changing ideas is the right way. Karp addressed how Wall Street hated them because they weren't doing what Wall Street wanted them to do, but they just focused on making great products which take time to develop, and they're showing the strong results now. For investors, this is another reminder that Palantir is thinking long-term. While some companies focus on making their investors happy and showing short-term profits, Palantir is focused on building products that bring value first and foremost, and they believe clients will realize they need the products and will come to Palantir inevitably. Karp said he doesn't let criticism change his mind. As someone with dyslexia, he is used to people doubting him, so he doesn't rely on popular opinion. Instead, he listens carefully to arguments, keeps what makes sense, and ignores what doesn't. This attitude also shapes how Palantir operates. The company doesn't follow trends just because other businesses do. It focuses on making strong products that will change industries. But what it also means is that Karp isn't just a stubborn, headstrong guy who will only do what he thinks is the answer. He is scanning the landscape deeper than the surface and making pivots as needed. This means Palantir is unlikely to make quick changes just to please the stock market, but they won't be sitting on stale products. Karp once again reinforced his patriotism about America and the West. He said he believes that the United States is the best place for technology companies. He said he wants Palantir to have played a pivotal role in creating a legacy for the West, especially America, to become healthier, wealthier, safer, and fairer 100 years from now. Next, in the Wall Street Journal interview, there were 2 additional key themes. Karp criticized Silicon Valley tech companies for only caring about creating apps for fun or entertainment. Karp believes tech companies have forgotten the country that made their success possible. Karp's rhetoric has never changed for the last 2 decades, which is that he wants to help the US government with national security to strengthen the military and intelligence agencies against the East. Karp says the company predicted how important AI would be for military use years before others caught on. Now, Palantir is seeing huge demand for its AI-powered security tools. Since Trump's election, Palantir's stock has jumped over 180%, because investors believe the new government will favor smaller, high-tech defense companies like Palantir over older companies like Lockheed Martin. And Palantir's momentum winning government contracts may become true. Separate from the WSJ article, the Tech Transparency Project, TTP, reported on Palantir's changing relationship with the US government. In TTP's words, TTP is a research initiative of Campaign for Accountability, Nonpartisan, nonprofit watchdog organization. According to their recent investigation, Palantir has been building deep ties within Washington, ramped up lobbying, and strategically placed key figures in government positions. Karp has been making arguments for many years that the US military needs to get behind in AI adoption and that it needs to be more agile in working with entrepreneurial companies like Palantir instead of relying solely on legacy defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. He somehow predicted the role of DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, because that's exactly what Elon Musk has set out to do. Musk has publicly criticized legacy defense contractors and advocated for startups like Palantir to take a bigger role in military AI and defense and to adopt technology faster. Also, newly appointed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has signaled his intent to reform Pentagon procurement, which directly aligns with Palantir's push for faster adoption of AI in military operations. For years, Palantir has been forming stronger relationships with government officials for this moment. Palantir spent $5.8 million in 2024 on lobbying, matching or surpassing longtime defense companies like Northrop Grumman and Raytheon. Palantir hired former key government insiders to have influence over defense spending decisions. Palantir launched the Palantir Foundation for Defense Policy, which sponsors AI and military policy research. Palantir partnered with companies like Anduril, SpaceX, and OpenAI to jointly bid on military AI contracts. And Palantir is strategically placing their own people in key government roles to ensure long-term influence. For instance, Jacob Helberg, senior advisor to CARP, was nominated as the top economic policy and trade official at the State Department. Gregory Barbaccia, former Palantir head of intelligence, was named Federal Chief Information Officer, positioning Palantir at the center of government-wide technology policy. Shyam Sankar, Palantir's Chief Technology Officer, is reportedly being considered for a major Pentagon role guiding defense R&D. And Matthew Turpin, former China director for Trump's National Security Council, has been with Palantir since 2019. The last theme in CARP's WSJ interview was about AI. At a market cap of $270 billion, Palantir is now more than twice as big as Lockheed Martin, which is the longtime aerospace and defense company whose 93% of its revenue comes from government contracts. Obviously, at 290 times trailing PE ratio, Palantir is outrageously highly valued. However, since the market is valuing the company on the long term, let's look at the PE ratio based on consensus estimate of its future earnings. Forward 12-month PE is 215, 2-year forward PE is 172, 3-year forward PE is 123, 4-year forward PE is 85, and 5-year forward PE is 62. Even after 5 years, the ratio is still higher than traditional military defense companies that's held most of the government's contracts. But what these forward multiples are telling us is based on the growth assumptions placed on the company. Those forward PE ratios are based on revenue growth of an average of 35% year over year for the next 5 years. And it also assumes that earnings will have similar profitability margins. But these two assumptions may be the clue that the company still has a lot more potential to go. First, as mentioned about Palantir's key positioning with the government, the company has made strategic actions over many years to ensure Palantir's influence on the government in the long term. This suggests that Palantir's technology will be prioritized in defense spending, which can lead to likely securing multi-billion-dollar AI and military intelligence contracts. That means its revenue growth can be astronomically higher than 35% year over year. If we believe this assumption, then the company's forward PE ratio is not telling the full story and the company is not overvalued. Second, the company achieved break-even in 2023. They have paid off the initial growing pains of losses year after year and are now a profitable business. That means even with the R&D that they will spend on building new AI capabilities and products, they will simultaneously focus on improving efficiency and streamlining its operations to increase its profitability. So EPS will also increase at a faster rate than the current assumptions. So what does all this mean for investors? Palantir looks expensive on paper, but if the company's revenue growth exceeds 35% per year, they get more favorable treatment by the government for AI defense contracts, and if Palantir starts to add efficiency gains, then today's high PE ratios might not be the full story. They've aligned themselves with the biggest government decision makers, from Trump's team to Musk's AI push, and putting their own executives in government positions. So is Palantir overvalued? If you believe in its long-term dominance, the market might actually be undervaluing its future potential. There may be market corrections and fluctuations in the short term, but in the long term, Palantir may just be in the first chapter of its growth story.